rugged shorelines and white beaches make the Queen Charlotte Islands truly the last wilderness frontier in the Pacific Northwest. Join us on Northwest Outdoors as we go fishing for big Chinook salmon on the Queen Charlottes.
We're fishing out of the Outpost, and this is an average fish, but an average fish up here could be 30 to 50 pounds.
Funding of Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by O'Loughlin Sports Shows. Puyallup, Portland, and the Redmond Sports Shows are proud supporters of public television throughout the Northwest, placing an emphasis on education for the great outdoors. By Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon. Makers of precision tools and cutlery, Kershaw Knives continues to support outdoor programming and outdoor activities throughout the Pacific Northwest. And by Subaru of America. Engineered and designed for all types of activities in the outdoors, Subaru believes that enjoyment of the Pacific Northwest should be available for everyone. You're riding shotgun on an A-Star helicopter with pilot Peter Norrie into some of the most remote territory on the coast of North America. This is the western edge of the Queen Charlotte Islands in Canada's British Columbia. Northwest Outdoors has been invited to fly in and fish with the West Coast Fishing Club at the Outpost Lodge near Port Louis. After arriving in Masset from Vancouver, BC, a short helicopter trip over the remote terrain is a great intro to this rugged territory. The Queen Charlottes are made up of more than 150 islands, many of which are small and uninhabited. Visited by Captain James Cook in 1787, the largest island, Graham Island, is home to the Haida, the native people here. Accessible by plane, boat, or helicopter, the Outpost Lodge sits secluded in Riddle Cove, right in the middle of a proposed ecological preserve. Large numbers of salmon migrate on the outside of the Queen Charlotte Islands, making this area ideal for sport anglers. Just a short boat ride from the lodge, fishing host Hobart Mans goes fishing for Tyee salmon on the ocean with guide Wayne McNaughton.
Bam! This is what we're looking for. That was quick and easy. Wayne, you did great. A little head shaking on him. He does not like this business. He is just a sulker. There's just no doubt about it. We've got him rigged up this morning. We're fishing with a downrigger and probably 100 to 150 feet of water down on the downrigger. We're using just a straight cut plug herring back of the downrigger, and we weren't in the water 3-4 minutes when this first fish picked up. A little light tap, and then he disengaged from the downrigger clips. And we've had him on now for probably 5 to 10 minutes, or he's had me on that long. You got to remember something too. These fish are probably 5 years old, 30 to 50 pounds someplace. And this fish has been training for 5 years just for this one day, to see how good a shape I was in or not in. He's in perfect shape. He's fit and trim, and I'm out here probably a little bit out of shape and flabby trying to equalize things. I see a clip showing up there. He's right behind the motor area there. You tell me, he's still green. He isn't ready to talk to us yet, I don't think. I'm going to take one more pump and then I'm going to have to lead him to you. one more one. He is snagged a little. One up, one down. This is a typical Queen Charlotte Chinook. This fish is in the 30-pound range. We were out here just a few minutes this morning. We popped this fish. And fish of this size, 30 to 50 pounds, are common, very common. This is the gorgeous bright chromer. We may catch a bigger one today, but we kept this one after a second look at the fish. It was hooked deep enough that it's probably going to be a mortality. But a cut plug, trolled at about 100 feet deep. We weren't in the water just a few minutes, and this is the results. We're going to go back and see if we can find a bigger one. If we do, we'll turn it loose.
The food of choice for these Chinook are fresh herring, and for every guide, there's a different way to cut the bait. Wayne shows us his technique.
I've got a larger herring and a smaller herring. I'll show you a couple of different cuts.
Okay.
First, we'll start with the larger one. I'm left-handed, so what I do is a compound angle. One angle is leaning that way, and the other one is leaning that way.
Okay, so you're cutting two angles at the same time.
Two angles, and I'm going to cut a bit of a bevel on this one.
A little bit of a flatter.
This one's got a bit more of an angle to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas on this one here, I want to get this one here, the larger herring with a bit more of a bevel to it. I want it to spin a little more wider and slower.
Slower kick and a wider roll.
Yeah. Whereas this one I'm going to cut more blunt, and when I hook it up, hopefully get more of a tight little corkscrew.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut still an angle, as you can see.
Right.
But it's quite a bit more blunt.
Far less pronounced, less angle. Very definitely a different cut on the two of them. Now you're going to hook them up.
Now cut plugs can be hooked up a lot of different ways. So if you put it in the water and it doesn't spin, you can rehook it a different way to get it to spin. On the bigger ones, I put it back, a little bit back from the dorsal, below the spine, come out this side, and just stuff it back in so it sits like that.
Fish on, we got another one. Another one's cooking out here. This is really great. Out here we've had two sets. Both times we've had strikes. Fish are really cooperating. Got a lot of line out. He's surfacing. Coming up, a bronze backer. Maybe it'll be that undersize we're looking for, because I believe we're allowed to keep one over and one under. No, now that you can see him, he's not under. Well, some of the other anglers up here are using, for the first time, some of these single action reels, and they're just like a big fly reel. You kind of palm down, you put a little pressure with the palm of your hand to aid the brake or the drag system that's already built in the reel. You line the rod tip, takes a little pressure off, and you can reel a fish in. It's got a direct drive, has no gears. The reel's just out of breath working with this big fish, but the reel itself is simply a winch. There's where he's at. He's a little crazy when he sees that sunlight. He's not gonna go. Just let him swim to the boat here. Coming home, Wayne. And we bagged him. Look at that. Wayne, that's awesome. Morning, after we caught this fish, Wayne bled it immediately, and the bleeding process will remove all the blood from the flesh tissue, and the flesh that we have now will have no suspended blood in it. It's going to taste a lot better, it's going to be better to keep, and it just makes the fish nicer all the way around. So we're going to fillet this fish out here relatively quickly. We've made an initial cut across behind the head. We're going to insert the point of the knife and run it parallel with the backbone. I'm trying to feel my way along the vertical portion of that backbone, back here past the fins. Going to get back here. I can feel the backbone now. I'm going to just take that knife and force it right along the backbone, making that cut right along the tail. We're not going to cut the tail off because here in Canada we have to leave a portion of that fish's tail with the fish itself. You can feel the rib cage bones. I just cracked them. You can see where the rib cage bones now are coming up. We're just going to fleece along those rib cage bones down towards the belly. We're making those cuts in here along those bones, rolling that flesh back as we go. Coming along, and continue to work this. This is a fairly big salmon. Notice how nice and clean those rib cages, bones are starting to expose from the cuts, making long, single, fleecing cuts as we come along. We're just about ready to roll that off of the belly meat. We're going to have a very nice filleted piece of salmon. We'll just lay this out here. Now that's a nice fletch. We got to take and cut just past right here. This little fin here, have to get him disconnected. Have to go between those two. That little bone structure there. You can lay that out now. You've got a very nice salmon fillet. We can come through and do the other half in very much the same fashion. There's no meat loss on the rib cage. You can see where the rib bones all come down. We're right next to the backbone. No meat loss between the backbone and the ribs. This is a very fine fletch of salmon off of a 28-pound fish. This is the way you could do a salmon gently, easily, and nicely in fillet.
Evenings bring out the character of the Queen Charlottes, especially here on the western edge. With no neighbors for 25 miles, even the jellyfish will come out and dance with the setting sun.
What are they used for?
As fish stories are being swapped over dinner, anticipation is already building for the next day on the water. At this lodge, guests can call it a day right after a quick hot tub or even a game of billiards.
I think it's the remoteness of the Charlottes that makes this place so special. Very difficult to get here, and the fact that out there we see a boat a month, maybe. It's just, until you actually realize just how secluded you are when you fly in here in the helicopter, it's hard to explain to somebody what a feeling that is.
Lisa Winborn is the manager of the Outpost, one of 4 separate lodges run by the West Coast Fishing Club in the Charlottes. She points out that the attraction to lodges like this is the few people that make it here each year.
It's difficult for other people to get here. There's nobody else putting pressure on that fishery except us. And until this year, there was a commercial fishery, but this year they've actually closed the northern troll fleet. So they're reducing the commercial pressure out there in an effort to boost the stocks for the recreational angler.
The remoteness up here and the fact that you have a very small facility as far as people's concerned, you're never going to see the pressures that you see at some of the bigger lodges placed on your fishery.
I certainly hope not. If we ended up with neighbors, I'd be really disappointed, but there's a slim to no chance of that happening. So yeah, we should be able to preserve what we've got here right now.
With ample wildlife to watch and plenty of fishing, there's never a dull moment on the ocean. When the salmon limit is caught, there's plenty of sport fishing on the bottom.
We're out here in the ocean today and we're going to try for a little diversity. We know that on the bottom we've got lingcod and yellow eye and rockfish and black sea bass. There's blue shark. There's just an abundance of variety of fish down here. We're going to let our gear down and see what kind of fish we can come up with. Let's see what's on the bottom of the ocean.
This guy hammered it.
We're going to say it's a yellow eye, Rick.
Oh, it's a snapper.
Well, they both got a little head shake to it. At least that's the first good head shake that I've seen.
So, we will be eating red snapper. And we have, there's a better lingcod.
Woo! Toothy critter. Now look at the smile on that puppy. He says, hello, Wayne. Is he still there? He's gone.
Why don't you come over here? I got one over here. Oh, I think I got a decent sized Hallie. And we're just outside of Louis Rocks here in a bit of a trench. It's 210 to 230 feet. It's pretty flat. We've been hitting some pretty consistent halibut action here. And we just lost one on the big rod, and now I have the pleasure of bringing up some sort of monster from the deep on this light line, and he's not looking like he wants to come up. Sure you don't want to come and muscle this baby up?
No, you got him, you fight him. Well, there were several big halibut taken here in the last 2 days. That is to say, I think incredibly nice. The fish were in the 60 to 100 pound class.
Yeah, definitely a nice average size fish.
And of all the places that I've been in the last few years, I would have to say, in a complimentary fashion, that the halibut here at the Outpost, on the average, are bigger than any place that we've been. Normally you see a lot of 20 to 35, 40 pounds, and your average starts at 40 plus and goes uphill.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of the monstrous ones. I've got one up around 200. We've got a few in the 150 range, but most of ours are between 40 and 100. On this side of Port Louis, this Louis Rocks, we get, our average size is quite a bit bigger. If you go across behind me at Tian, you get a lot more chickens, which are 8 to 15 pounds.
Yes.
But definitely a lot of fun.
This fish doesn't look like a chicken. It looks like serious work.
Well, I'm just afraid that he's going to decide that he likes bottom better than top here on me. He's just kind of put the brakes on me here. I don't get to experience the pain that the guests go through all the time. Very often.
That's one of the great things about with us. We make you do all the work.
Yeah.
So you can see what you're putting us through once in a while.
Yeah, I always sit there and watch them grunt and groan and moan and complain and switch arms and rest arms. And
I'll say this, that mooching reel and mooching rod, that single action reel and light rod, that halibut is giving you quite a workout.
yeah, there's a Hallie.
Oh, that's a big door.
That's
nice
a pretty
barn
big
door.
Hallie.
Tell you what, we're going to trade off here because I don't want to blow this fish for you.
Okay,
Wayne.
you hold that.
I'll hold your rod, and wherever you want me to take it to.
Lift him up, lift his head up there. Get him right behind the gill plate. I'm going to swing him in the boat. A little rust-away barbless 4/0 hook, and basically any little bit of relief of pressure and that fish would have been gone.
Wayne, that was really a nice job you did there. You know, it's nice to see you work for a change. There's nothing I like better than watching somebody who knows what he's doing land a nice halibut.
We'll join Wayne and Hobart for more halibut fishing in a moment. But first, let's take a closer look at some of the makeup of the Queen Charlottes. One way to get a feel for the islands is to tour the coast by kayak. Manager Winborn occasionally takes out guests for a paddle around some of the nearby inlets. Or if they prefer, brave the ocean currents for a sea adventure.
Sea kayaking is a perfect way to explore all the coastlines and inlets and islands, especially here in the Queen Charlottes. No matter what sort of weather and water you get into, you can pretty much always find a safe spot, secluded spot. There's no better way to see the shore. And you can get on beaches that nobody else can. Ocean kayaking can be a very safe sport as long as you've got the right gear. You think about the weather and water conditions here on the west of the Charlottes, you have a great deal of respect for the Haida people who lived here originally. They lived here 365 days a year without neoprene suits and electricity. It must have been a tough existence. Shortly after they left this side of the island, this bay was settled by Eli Tingley. There were actually 2 houses in here. And in 1971, there was also an oil rig erected, and it didn't last long. I don't know if they ran out of oil or they ran out of money.
You're doing that on the light little old mooching rod too.
Let's hope he's not too big.
Yeah, on the mooching rod, let's hope he isn't really too big. And like you say though, they are easier to land on that than you might think because it's got a really fast retrieve on the the other. I'm watching to feel that I don't get tangled with you. He's not making any runs over here so far.
This thing doesn't have really big head shakes. It's either a small halibut or there's the odd ling and snapper in here too. So
Let that one grow up.
oh my, this is a good one.
Yes, so is this. So is, they both are. Both of them.
Is he peeling line on you?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good. Your drag all right there?
Oh yeah, yep. He can barely move against it a little bit. Almost like sturgeon fishing. These things want to turn your little old arms to stone.
I think this one's got a little more weight than the last one.
I would imagine that rod is bent over. You know, we're out here fishing for halibut at the Outpost, Wayne and I. Wayne's got a fish, I've got a fish. We're sitting here with two of them that make it look like work. Got a lot of head shaking.
Oh, saddle. Don't go back down. It's one thing about using mono is you only want to do it once. You don't want to miss them and have them go back to bottom on you.
No, they stretch it out pretty quick.
So I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Who's going to harpoon our halibut for us?
Pardon?
Who's going to harpoon our halibut for us?
Time to shake those hands out. What's all that buzzing going?
Oh, he's swimming. Oh,
Pardon?
Smokes. He's dancing around. I think we're hooked together here.
Think so?
In some way. I don't know. Here, I'm going to bring...
Bring yours around.
Oh, there we go. We were hooked together.
Where you cut it off?
No, my line rubbed on your tough line there and just...
Cut it?
That stuff is not very friendly to this mono.
No, it's not. Well, I can see the ball. I can see a really nice looking white slab down here, about 40 pounds. Maybe. Maybe I lied. Nice white side.
Well, that's a nice halibut.
Yep.
That's not too bad. That'll go probably 30 pounds. A little over. I don't know how deep he is. What do you think?
We can keep that one.
All right.
The abundant fishing and spectacular beauty of the Queen Charlotte Islands is well represented here on the west coast of Graham Island. With rugged shorelines and white beaches, this truly is the last wilderness frontier in the Pacific Northwest. On the next Northwest Outdoors, we continue the adventure from the Outpost Lodge, when helicopter pilot Peter Norrie takes Hobart and Lisa for a beachcombing excursion.
Look, Hobart, last ball. Got one.
Along the way, fly into some untouched waters for a little shore fishing and lunch.
That's like jumping. What a dandy little fish. We're up here on this lake we accessed by chopper. We're fishing on waters that who knows how long since anybody's been on them. If you turn here, you can see the cutthroat slash on his, the orange slash on his gill plate. And then again, the spots and the colors on that fish.
Cheers.
Yes, it is. Great day.
Plus, Hobart gets another chance to land that Chinook over 40 pounds.
Oh yeah. Woohoo! You handled that fish remarkably well. Thank you very much.
No.
I never would have heard the end of it from my staff if we had lost this one.
Nor would I.
Don't miss Part 2 from the Outpost Lodge in the Queen Charlotte Islands on the next Northwest Outdoors. You can go online with Northwest Outdoors and learn more about this episode 1411. Click on www.northwestoutdoors.org. Funding of Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by O'Loughlin Sports Shows. Puyallup, Portland, and the Redmond Sports Shows are proud supporters of public television throughout the Northwest, placing an emphasis on education for the great outdoors. By Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon. Makers of precision tools and cutlery, Kershaw Knives continues to support outdoor programming and outdoor activities throughout the Pacific Northwest. And by Subaru of America. Engineered and designed for all types of activities in the outdoors, Subaru believes that enjoyment of the Pacific Northwest should be available for everyone.